as we kind of would all expect now, with the head coaching change, might come some current and future players either decommitting or transferring out. And, although we haven't seen any current players decide to transfer following the Sean Miller news, we did, however, see one future commit request a release for his official NLI, the National Letter of Intent. Four-star point guard KJ Simpson announced that he is decommitting and reopening his recruitment from Arizona. So, and understandably so, right? I mean, players come here and they commit to a team with the expectation of, playing for Sean Miller, right? And now that he's gone, we could see some shuffling, right? But what do you think, Ryan? Do you think we're going to see any more players enter the transfer portal or any future commits possibly reopen their commitment now that Sean Miller is out?
Yeah, I do expect guys to enter, but getting back to KJ Simpson, I'm not that concerned with him. I wasn't even projecting him to maybe get minutes next season, if so, limited minutes. So I'm not concerned with that, but yeah, I do expect I really expect it to depend on the coach. I mean, like you said, if they can land a guy like Muss and they get him quick, then all these guys are going to stay, obviously. But, I mean, if they got a guy like Stoudemire or an unknown guy like Simon, then maybe some guys question it. And I expect they will. But I fully expect right now, I think at least Mathurin or Tabelis or either enter the NBA draft or transfer. I don't think Akinjo will be back next year. But I expect most of the other guys to stay. The one guy that I do think that could transfer is Christian Coloco. I mean, as we know, Sean Miller took a liking to Christian Coloco early on, gave him minutes and focused on his development. As we know, he struggled last season, still gave him his minutes, still started him here and there. And wanted to, focus in on him. And every time I would ask Sean Miller last season about him, he always would bring up the positives first and never wanted to harp on what he's bad at on the offensive end. So I think he could go somewhere else. Jordan Brown, he's an older player. Maybe depending who they hire, if it doesn't look great, he could go as a veteran. So, yeah, I think it's all up in the air right now. You can't really say until a coach is hired.
Yeah, I think the KJ Simpson does make a lot of sense, right? There was already a lot of guards on this roster. Like you said, it was hard to see where he was really going to fit into that rotation. And he was probably promised somewhat of a role with the team under Sean Miller. So now that he's not there, he's a pretty highly touted guy. So he's got other offers from D1 programs. So that one doesn't, surprise me at all that he was, playing the field a little bit there. But I agree with you. I think it's all just going to depend on who the coach is, and more importantly, who the assistant coaches are going to be, right? Because the assistant coaches do a lot of recruiting for these guys. They have a lot of good relationships with these players, right? Like Jack Murphy was, Sean Miller said Jack Murphy was like the lead guy for these, these overseas guys, Kirk Kriesla, Tabelis, all those dudes. Jack Murphy was the guy recruiting them more so than Miller was. So if Jack Murphy's still here, maybe those players will stay. But if they bring in a new head coach and he just cleans house, and gets a whole new, assistant coaching staff, then we probably will start seeing a lot of shuffling. But, really, I think it'll all just come down to, who the head coach is and who more importantly will be the assistant coaches. Because, that will be interesting too, because Arizona's got some good assistant coaches. Jack Murphy is a very good coach. He could probably be a head coach somewhere. Jason Terry, as we already mentioned, like these are good assistant coaches, with, high resumes, with a lot of, good past experiences. So these aren't just, random assistant coaches. So we'll have to see if, they get the boot too with Sean Miller. But, I also saw that Mike Bibby was, being interested in the coaching job, not necessarily as the head coach, but he wanted to be on the assistant, coach. So maybe, they go the route. Yeah. Maybe they go the route of bringing in Stoudemire as the head coach and having Bibby under him as an assistant. So, maybe, you just never know with who the head coach is going to be and what he decides with the assistant coaches. But yeah, I think Christian Coloco actually is a really interesting one that you brought up. I really didn't even think of him, but you're right. He is a Sean Miller guy. Sean Miller loves that dude. So it's like, how do you know what Coloco's role is going to be with the new coach, right? There's a chance, that, because let's be real, Coloco hasn't really been up to the standards that we've expected, right?
Nope.
What's to say that, this head coach comes in and he just doesn't get any minutes because he's just not developed, right? Like Sean Miller loves him. That's why he got minutes. And like, we've seen the potential. So like, it makes sense. But, who's to say that, someone's going to come in and Coloco is just going to ride the bench because he's not, ready yet. Right. So that's an interesting one to me. Jordan Brown's an interesting one as well. He was a guy that Sean Miller, was really all on top of, even, before he was at Nevada. He really wanted him to be in Arizona as a freshman. And then, he went to Nevada and then he transferred here. So, Sean Miller had a great relationship with Jordan Brown. So that makes sense too. But yeah, and then Akinjo, with being in the NBA, testing his luck in the draft. We'll see if he comes back or not. I mean, that's the whole thing, really, is that I feel like a lot of these guys had such a good relationship with Sean Miller. A lot of this roster are Sean Miller's guys. So who knows how they're going to react, right? I mean, and we've seen it before, right? Like this team, I think this team, Sean Miller has even said it. I think he said that this is the most proud he's ever been of a team. Like these guys love Sean Miller. They love playing for him. Sean Miller loved these players. They had that chemistry. It's not like this is, they came to Arizona because they wanted, to be in an Arizona uniform. They wanted to come to Arizona because they wanted to play for Sean Miller. So it's going to be really interesting. We haven't seen too many, chairs being shuffled right now, but I wouldn't be surprised at all, if we bring in a new coach and, these guys just head out because Sean Miller's not here anymore. It will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will it will be interesting to find out what the players decide to do. But something else I wanted to get back to, just a point I wanted to make, is a lot of the players did come out, and Kirk Risa, Tabelis, Matherin, Koloko, those are just some of the current guys. And that worries me because it doesn't seem like there was any communication between Miller to the players about a potential exit, because Miller told us after the final game against Oregon that he was going to talk to the guys, a postseason meeting, and discuss their future at Arizona and their role. But so it's really weird because any of these guys, it's like that maybe it does affect that. Like, for example, Jamal Baker. Why wouldn't Jamal Baker come back to Arizona? He was starting, his spot was solidified when he was the first quarter of the season when he was healthy. So did he know something that we didn't? I mean, did James Akinjo? So it just doesn't make sense why some of the guys are leaving and then some of them are staying disappointed. It's really weird, but for sure what you said, it does seem like all the players pretty much are behind Sean Miller. I haven't seen one player come out and talk bad about him, period.
Yeah, like Kirk Risa said on Instagram, he said like mistakes have been made, right? Like these guys, all the players were, commenting on that Instagram post about like, oh, we love Sean Miller, he's a great dude. We've had former players, come out and say that, Sean Miller's been nothing but the best to me, blah, blah, blah. Like people love Sean Miller. These players love playing for Sean Miller. So it's like, this is not going to be an easy transition. So it'll definitely be interesting to see, but I think unfortunately, we're